Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I hope everyone can find a comfortable seat, either next to someone you know or someone that you will know by the end of the service. It's very, very wonderful to have all of you joining here today to celebrate Shabbat. And we are going to begin our service with song, one of my favorite ways to enter into a spiritual space, to make the transition from all the hubbub and the hullabaloo outside in the world and begin to enter Shabbat. We'll begin with Ki Eshmera Shabbat, which can be found on page 330. Please join with us.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel
Wine symbolizes joy, a full cup very much symbolizes joy, and it's with joy that we welcome in this Sabbath day, this day when we remember the creation of the world, the exodus from Egypt, and the glory and joy of being free. You can find the Kiddush on page 5, I think. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kadsho, B'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher litziat mitzrayim. Kivanu v'acharta, v'yotanu kidashta, Mikol ha'amim. V'shabbat kadshecha b'yahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. L'chaim. So Ellen, if you want to take the top off there and lead us in Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam amotzi lechem min haaretz.
So usually what we do is each of us on the bima takes a little, but if you are under the age of 13 and you're in this room and you want some challah, you can come up and get some. Alex! You want challah? You want to get some challah for you and your brother?
It's quite good.
Come on. It's up to you. Is that big enough? Yeah? Okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to ask you to return to your seats. I know, Z, that we're going to see you a little bit later. We're going to continue, in a moment with the singing of Lachado D. But before we do that, we're going to take a moment to greet one another. Lachado D is a prayer that we use to welcome in Shabbat as if Shabbat is entering our midst as royalty, as a queen, or as a bride. And so we're preparing to do that, but first and foremost, we should greet one another. I want to just encourage you to maybe get up and cross the aisle or go to a different aisle to meet somebody you haven't met before, and then we'll join back together on page 20. Page 20, we join together in Lachado D. We're going to be singing verses 1, 3, 5, and 9. And we are going to rise for the final verse and face the doorway. Page 20. It is?
If there's an adjustment, like they are, very nice and loud.
Lechadodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zakor b'ribor echad, yishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shemo tiferet ve'letila. Lechadodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lekul levercha, ki hi mikora veracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, suf maaseh b'machshava tchila. Lechadodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Itoreri, itoreri, ki barek u'meori, uri, uri, shir devari,
We continue on page 30 with the Ma'ariv Aravim. We read together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chochma poteach sha'arim uvitvuna mishaneh itim umachalif et hazmanim umisader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono borei yom valayla golel or mipnei choshech vechoshech mipnei or uma'avir yom umevi laila umavdil ben yom uvein laila Adonai tzvaot shemo El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Page 33. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Please join with me. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem, Shem Kevod Malchuta, Le'olam Va'ed.
You may be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבביך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלבתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להוד על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem Emet. Thank you, Thee. Page 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot. Please join with me that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
Baruch atah Adonai, God Yisrael.
Together on the bottom of page 43. Give us a place to rest, Adonai, our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. We continue in our celebration of Shabbat with the singing of Yismachu. Again, I'd like to call Z forward to lead us on page 44.
Yismachu ve'malchutcha, shomarei Shabbat. Yismachu ve'malchutcha, v'korei onei. Yismachu ve'malchutcha, shomarei Shabbat. Yismachu ve'malchutcha, v'korei onei. Amekadeshei shevi, kulam yismachu v'yitangu mituvecha, v'hashvirot zitabo, v'kiddashto. Yismachu ve'malchutcha, shomarei Shabbat. Yismachu ve'malchutcha, v'korei onei. Yismachu ve'malchutcha, shomarei Shabbat. Yismachu ve'malchutcha, v'korei onei. Chemdat yaminoto karata, zecher lemase v'reishit. Chemdat yaminoto karata, zecher lemase v'reishit. Yismachu ve'malchutcha, shomarei Shabbat. Yismachu ve'malchutcha, v'korei onei. Yismachu ve'malchutcha, shomarei Shabbat. Yismachu ve'malchutcha, v'korei onei.
Wow. It was wonderful. Thank you. We rise as we turn to page 46 for the Amidah.
Adonai sebatatita ufia tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, v'koneh hakol, v'zocher hashtei havot v'imachot, u'mevii gula lifnei v'neihem, leman shemo v'yahava, melech ozer u'moshia u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, magen אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מחלל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא הולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומטעם מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה לך חיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש, שמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
You may be seated. Thank you. We continue on page 54. אתה קידשת את יום השביעי לשמך, תכלית מעשה שמיים וארץ, וברכתו מכל הימים וקידשתו מכל הזמנים, וכן כתוב בתורתך. We continue after the colon in the English in the middle of the page. The heaven and the earth were finished, and all their array. On the seventh day, God had completed the work that had been done, ceasing on the seventh day from the work that God had done. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, and ceased from all the creative work that God had chosen to do. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu b'amcha Yisrael, uv'tfilatam b'ahava tikabel, u'tehi l'ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha, Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yira navod. Together on the top of 57. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer, wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands. You are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yira navod. So those of you who have been coming to services over the last couple of weeks know that when we turn to page 58, something that we've taken on as a tradition, at least so far, since July 1st, has been to offer, instead of the prayer that's written on the page, gratitude that we have in each of our lives. And the phrase that we give thanks to God is modim anachnu lach. And so I invite members of the community who have something they want to share, something that you're grateful for, to share it aloud, and then we will respond with modim anachnu lach. I want to say one more thing that's a little different than how we've done it before, which is we're very grateful to have all of these smiling faces here in the sanctuary, but we're also grateful that here we are post-COVID, and we are able to have our service be something that we share with people who aren't able to be here in person. So we have a whole bunch of people online, and they can't hear us when we're not on microphone. So if you could just keep what you share short enough that I could share it back so that the people at home are not just kind of like in limbo. That would be really helpful. So brevity, but gratefulness. Yes, Barbara.
My husband and I are very grateful that we got to share a week with my teacher, Barbara Sussman, in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
So Barbara's grateful that she got to spend a week with her teacher, Barbara Sussman, in Santa Fe. Yes. What? Oh, yep, sorry. All of you are the rabbi. Modim anachnu lach. You welcomed a great-grandson. Wonderful. Jackson and mother are doing well. Modim anachnu lach. Alex. So I heard you say you were grateful for God, for our city, and your family. Did I get that right? Did I hear it right? Food and water. So important, and we sometimes forget to be grateful for that. Thank you very much. Modim anachnu lach. Eli. You like chips? Modim anachnu lach. Z. You were able to find a home for a stray cat in the neighborhood. Modim anachnu lach. Eric. He's grateful for our congregation and for my spiritual leadership. Thank you. Modim anachnu lach. David.
I'm grateful that we had lovely guests over for Shabbat dinner tonight.
He's grateful that we had lovely guests over for Shabbat dinner tonight. Modim anachnu lach. Yes, James. No, you don't get to tell him when to not talk. No. That what? This has gone so well. So James is a dad in our congregation of little ones, and he's grateful this has gone so well. Modim anachnu lach. So, Donna. One of those names with vowels in it. Grateful for friends. Thank you. Modim anachnu lach. So if you haven't said something aloud, it doesn't mean that you're not grateful. It means that you haven't said anything aloud. So what I want to invite you to do is to think of something that you're grateful for, and even if you haven't said it aloud, call it to mind, and we'll say together, Modim anachnu lach. We are going to pray silently through page 62, and there are prayers within the book that you can follow along, but I also want to make sure that you know that it is deep within our tradition that we are to pray the prayers within our hearts. So even if you don't look at the pages and you look only within, you're fulfilling the mitzvah of performing the Amidah. And this is a good time for everybody to be really quiet and really still. Really quiet and still, just for a few minutes. I'm glad you like that song, but I have a secret to tell you. So when you're at a play or at a concert in the theater, you clap when you really appreciate what somebody did. But in the synagogue, it's a different thing. It's a different thing when we're in services. But we still want to show appreciation sometimes. And since it's not a place where we clap most of the time, we can do a silent clap like this when we appreciate the music or what somebody said. Okay? Good job. We're going to continue with the Mishaberach, which can be found on page 253. Here in the KI community, we are praying for healing tonight. Our world is in need of so much healing, and the people within it, so much healing too. And so, with heavy yet hopeful hearts, we call to mind Bobby Hamill, Peggy Stetner, Ellery Einstein, Susan Scarce, Mac Beeson, Wilbur Nichols, Emily Hochstedler, Marcy Zolkos, Norm Sarachek, Jamie Gordon Rodriguez, Robbie Cohen, Bert Schlossberg, Marianne Gardosky, Joanne Yankovoy, Shaoli Rosenberg, Robert Alexander, Rivka Elka Batrut, Felice Price, and David Eiskowitz. I invite you to add any names to this list, the names of anyone for whom you're praying for healing this evening. Yes. Thank you. With hope for healing in our hearts, we join together in the Mishaberach, page 253. May the Holy One of Blessing bring us all a refuah shlema, a complete healing, soon in our day, as together we say, Amen. So some of you have been studying Torah with me every week, and I wonder if any of you know which parsha we're on, which Torah portion. It's a test. Yeah? What do you think? Akev. We're in Parshat Akev. And just like I said last week and the week before, and the week before that, we are in Deuteronomy, and these are the final speeches that Moses is making to the Israelites. So there's a really important idea in some of what Moses is talking about this particular week. And it's really powerful for us in our day, in our situation. So God is saying to the Israelites, look, you're going to go into this land, and you're going to have a lot of blessings. You're going to have a lot of really wonderful things that happen to you. Good stuff is coming. But there's a catch. And the catch is, y'all are human. And that means there is a high risk that as you enjoy the fat of the land and the produce of your field, that you'll start to think, I'm pretty great. I did this for myself. And you're going to forget what? That God provided you with it. That it was not from your own awesomeness that you got all of these riches, all of this wealth. And actually the idea, which I think is in the Bible, it's framed sort of in a Deuteronomic way, you'll be punished if you do X and you'll be rewarded if you do Y. But I think it actually plays itself out in sort of the moral context in which we live, that it actually, if you fail to acknowledge the true source of your fortunes, that it will lead to your demise. That there's something inherently unconnected or unnatural about moving forward as if you are operating completely solo, without support from without. So I want to tell you a story that makes me think of this parsha. It makes me think of this teaching. Eli and Alex, I'm about to tell a story. Would you like to come closer so you can hear it better? No? Okay, so this is a story for grown-ups, but it's also a story for kids. So it should be fun, okay? It's called Joseph Who Loved Shabbat. So there was this man named Joseph, and he was very poor, and he worked very, very hard. He worked for a man named Sorab. Now, every week he would work really, really hard. He would farm the land. He would sell the crops in the marketplace. He would take care of the animals. He would help them birth their young. He would press the olives for oil. He would press the grapes for wine. He did all the work on this farm, but he didn't get paid very much money. And, the thing is, the money that he did have, he held onto that money so tightly all week long. He spent just a little tiny bit of it so he could eat, like a little barley, some onions, some bread. But then, when Friday afternoon came, he would always do the same thing. He would start to sweep up his little house, and then he would go to the marketplace. He would take all of the money that he had saved all week, and he would look for the finest olive oil to light his oil lamp on Shabbat. He would look for the most delicious wine he could find to have at his Shabbat table. He would look for the choicest flour he could use to make challah for his Shabbat table. And he would look for a plump chicken, a piece of meat, some kind of fish, something really elaborate and fancy and beautiful and delicious that he could have at his Shabbat table. He he basically spent all his money to make Shabbat. So he would go home, he would light his Shabbat lights, he would make Kiddush, he would eat the bread that he had made that afternoon, and he would dig into his meal, and he would read Torah, do a little learning. And then the next day, he'd had friends over. Sometimes they played games. They always ate. They drank. They sang. Sometimes he took a nap. Sometimes he read a book. And then, when 3 stars appeared in the sky, we all know what that means, Shabbat ended. And he would put away his scroll, and he would put away all of the candle holders, and he would put away his Kiddush cup, and he would put away his nice clothes and his beautiful talit that he would wear on Shabbat, and he would go back to working on Sorab's farm. Now, one time, Joseph asked Sorab if he could get a raise, and Sorab laughed at him and said, "I can't afford a raise." Now, this was not really true because Sorab had a lot of money. In fact, not only did he have a lot of money, he sat around watching Joseph work while he fanned himself in the heat. And he was known all around as a greedy man. He also made fun of Joseph and said, "Joseph, I can't pay you anymore. Even if I could, you'd just spend it on Shabbat, on making Shabbat." "What better way to spend it?" said Joseph. Well, Joseph continued to work hard week in and week out. And then one day, Sorab had a dream. He had a dream, and a genie came to him in the dream. And the voice of the genie said, "All your house and all your lands were earned through Joseph's hands. Before the full moon grows dim, all that you have will belong to him." Sorab was quite shaken by this dream. And every night he looked at the moon and thought about how it was getting dimmer, and the month was passing, and he was getting more and more worried. And then he had an idea. He decided that what he was going to do was he was going to make sure that Joseph didn't get all of his riches. He was going to go and sell all of his lands, his house, all of his possessions, take the money, and go to the jeweler. He went to the jeweler and he saw sapphires and he saw diamonds, but then he saw this ruby that was the size of a pigeon's egg. His eyes lit up, and with every last cent he had, he bought that ruby. Well, the jeweler was very happy to sell such an item to a customer, and he helped Sorab fix it onto his hat, like a decoration for his fancy hat. And then Sorab went down to the seashore. He got on a ship that was bound for a land far, far away. He laughed to himself, "Let the moon grow dim. By the time Joseph sees what I've done and sees where I've gone, I'll be so far away he'll never be able to find me." But then a storm started brewing, and the ship tossed this way and that, and eventually Sorab fell overboard. The ship broke into pieces, and his hat fell off and hit the mast of the ship, and the ruby popped out of the hat and started to descend to the depths of the ocean. Meanwhile, it was Friday, and Joseph made his way to the market. "Who will buy this giant fish I've caught?" said the fisherman. Devorah, who was the weaver, who spent every Friday in the market, said, "Well, of course Joseph will buy it. He's always buying expensive things for Shabbat." And indeed, Joseph saw the fish and said, "This is surely the most amazing fish, the most beautiful fish, the largest fish that there is in the world." And he bought it for his Sabbath table. So he went home with his finest oil, with his most delicious grapes for wine, with his choicest flour, and with the big fish. And he sat down and lit the candles and said the Kiddush over the wine and said the motzi over the challah, he began to open up the fish. And inside the fish was something sparkling and red. Alex, have you been listening to the story? What do you think he found inside the fish? Something sparkling and red. The ruby, you're right, you're very smart. The ruby was in the fish. Well, Joseph was elated. He was so happy, and he decided that he would take this ruby and he'd bring it to the jeweler in town and see how much money he could get for it. In fact, he got enough money that he could go and buy all of Sorab's lands and Sorab's house, and that Shabbat, he had such a feast. He invited all of his friends, and he invited strangers from the marketplace, and every Shabbat after was a huge feast in which Joseph, no matter how rich he was, no matter how poor he was, he remembered to rest on the seventh day and to give thanks to God for all his riches. Shabbat Shalom. It's my pleasure to call forward Martina Obensky, who's going to offer us some announcements and greetings.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I want to welcome you to our service this evening. Thank you, Rabbi, for bringing us Shabbat. Thank you, Karen and the choir, and Kelly and Don for helping us with our music. You can join Rabbi Shoshana for Torah study tomorrow morning, in person or via Zoom, beginning at 9:30. But please note that next Saturday there will be no Torah study. All of our exciting events are listed in tonight's supplement and on our website, so do take a look at them. Of special note is Rabbi Tornberg's installation weekend Shabbat service, Havdalah, and evening dinner are just some of the plans in store for that weekend. So please mark November 17th and 18th in your calendar. Shabbat Shalom to those of you in-house and those of you out in TV land. Shabbat Shalom.
Our service continues with Aleinu on page 282. It's my pleasure to call forward Livesey to lead us in Aleinu, and Ray Livesey and Barry Cohen to please help us open the Ark. Page 282.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גאולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצון, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם קלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch, a fearful thing to love, hope, dream, to be and, oh, to lose. A thing for fools, this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing, to love what death has touched. Here in the KI community, we remember those whose families are in the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning. If you hear the name of a loved one for whom you're saying Kaddish, we invite you to rise so that we might acknowledge your loss and envelop you in our love and support. We remember Rebecca Binder, Samuel Klein, Donna Pinsley. We link their names to the names of those whose yahrzeits occurred this week. Joseph Brisman, Jeff Booyer, Charles DeFanti, Abraham Ellenbogen, Rebecca Goldstein, Leon Grossman, Louis Hoffman, Ruth Katz, Lee Kurlansik, Howard Lapides, Clara Leibovitz, Samuel Levitt, Anna Mason, Morris Perkin, Jacob Phillip, Augusta Phillips, Maxwell Potrich, Nathan Riebman, Joyce Rosen, Ida Sarachek, Nathan Schaefer, Samuel Silberg, Louis Subin, Emmanuel Toller, and Dorothy Weiner. I invite you to add any names to this list, the names of anyone for whom you're saying Kaddish tonight. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be an abiding blessing. In praise of God's name, we rise as one congregation, page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash me rabbah, v'yolma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, v'chaye chon uvyome chon, v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehi shmei rabba mivarach leolam ulamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yit adar v'yit aleh v'yit halal shemed kudasha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, Damiran be'alama v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel and all the world, and comfort to all who are bereaved, as together we say, amen. You may be seated. What page is our closing song? Ooh, 353. We are going to be singing Od Yavo Shalom. May peace come soon in our day.
Shalom Aleinu, Shalom Aleinu, Udivot Shalom Aleinu, Ve'akulam. Udivot Shalom Aleinu, Udivot Shalom Aleinu, Udivot Shalom Aleinu, Ve'akulam. Salam Aleinu ve'yakol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam Aleinu ve'yakol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Udivot Shalom Aleinu, Udivot Shalom Aleinu, Udivot Shalom Aleinu ve'akulam. Udivot Shalom Aleinu, Udivot Shalom Aleinu, Udivot Shalom Aleinu ve'akulam. Salam Aleinu ve'yakol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam Aleinu ve'yakol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Udivot Shalom Aleinu, Udivot Shalom Aleinu, Udivot Shalom Aleinu ve'akulam.
May God, who is gracious, be gracious to you, protect you and bless you and care for you, for all you are and all you hope to be. Let us give thanks for all that is good. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.